Hi, everyone. My name is Susanna Campora. I'm with Real Life Book Club, the creator and founder of something that's really revolutionizing women's lives. And today we have a real life connection with Kristen Moeller. She is the published author of this book. It's called What Are You Waiting For? Learn how to rise to the occasion of your life. I absolutely love her book. It feels good. It's so full of juicy nuggets, and I can't wait to have a conversation with her and share her story and a little bit of what really matters to her in her life when it comes to connection, authenticity, overcoming your fear, and really following your purpose. So, Kristen, thank you so much for being here today. It's been kind of jumping over some hurdles to get you on air, but thank you so much for spending time with me.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, great. So, Kristen, to start off, I would love to find out from you how you got to be so inspired to publish a book. It's a big deal. It's a long journey, and you did it. So, share a little bit more about what that means for you.
Well, my first book I published in 2000. Well, I started writing in 2008, I think. I start losing track now, but it came out in 2010. And I was not a writer prior to that book, so it was a really, really big deal. And I have a cold. I know we both talked about having colds, so my nose is now starting to itch. Hold on.
No problem.
Yeah, it's continuing to itch. Okay, so I was not a writer before that, and I had started, one of my very good friends had, she and her business partner were writing a book. And I worked with her for a little bit, and I would see they were doing all this really cool stuff. Like they took another book and they made a cover and they put it over that other book, so they had this thing they could hold. And they were reading, excuse me, Michael Larson's How to Write a Book Proposal. And she was going to this book seminar, and she asked me to go. And Jack Canfield was speaking, and he's kind of integral in my story of my first book.
Yeah, I saw that he wrote the foreword for you.
He
That's
did.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it's super
Love
cool.
it.
Yeah, so I went to California to this book seminar, and really kind of just was fascinated and um, thought, but I didn't have a book. I wasn't working on a book. And then in 2000, so that was probably, I think 2007, I don't know, 2008, I caught myself. Well, I had started an email connection with Jack. He was one of my mentors, and I had started this email relationship with him, and I would write him about my life and my dreams and what I was doing, and he would write me back. And so I had this nice thing going. And then one day I had stopped for a while, and I just had gotten busy with other things. And then I wanted to get back in touch with him, so I sent him an email, and I didn't hear from him. And I sent him another email, and I didn't hear from him. And I started getting obsessed, like just absolutely consumed with the fact that I hadn't heard back from him. And I was sneaking into my room to check my email in the middle of this family gathering, and had this epiphany of, what am I doing? Why am I waiting? Why am I waiting for Jack? And I thought, waiting for Jack? I'm going to write a book called Waiting for Jack, all about why we wait in life instead of go for it. And
Oh,
so it was literally one of those. I have not had many light bulb experiences where something just completely alters in one moment. So it was a memorable event because it just life altered in that moment, because I said, it was no book. Now I'm writing a book. And because I had been to the book seminars, at least I had an idea of what you do in nonfiction. I wasn't completely just, because I think if I hadn't done that, I might have had the idea and then it would have gone away. So I threw myself into writing, and I hired a coach, and I had a couple coaches, actually. One who kept me accountable, who I was paying a lot of money, and he was just keeping me on task as far as just making promises and doing my writing. And I just worked my way through that book proposal book, and I wrote a book proposal, and my nose is itching again. I wrote this could get really messy.
hey, isn't life?
But
Isn't life messy?
yeah, life is
This is
messy.
real connection, right?
Yeah. So Yeah, so I did it. I mean, I wrote a book proposal. I did it really fast. I got an agent really quickly. I mean, it's a very long story short, but Bill Gladstone, who's Eckhart Tolle's agent, is my agent, and I happened to run into him a couple times, had no idea who he was, but he looked familiar to me. So I kept being really friendly and outgoing. And he said, I think we're supposed to know each other. And I said, yeah. I said, what do you do? And he said, I'm an agent. And he said, do you have an agent? I said, no. Well, he said, well, I think I'm supposed to be your agent. So all of a sudden I had this agent, and then I got a publisher, and so I wrote my first book, and it was called Waiting for Jack. And I mean, I still hadn't actually, when I got the agent, I still hadn't actually written the book, and so I had written a bunch, but I hadn't written the whole book. I'm a big believer in deadlines. Without deadlines, I wouldn't do anything, and making promises to other people.
Yep.
So that's how I wrote my first book. And then once I showed myself that I could write my first book, I mean, the second book had a whole nother raft of issues along with it of getting it written. But I don't know if you want me to just keep talking about that.
Yeah, I'll stop you right there real quick. First of all, I love how your agent does business. He's like, I feel like we're supposed to work together. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that story. So you shared with me a little bit about what inspired you to just start writing, to start doing it. What kept you going? What kept you on the path of, making the end product actually get out there and get launched?
Well, the commitment, making the commitment, having someone that I promised, having a coach, and so then being accountable to that coach and making a promise to myself. I also started just telling everybody in my life that I was writing, and and so people would ask me about it, say, how's the book going? And so I would see people and they would ask me, and and that kept me honest too. And it really felt like one of those things. It felt big enough, felt like I had a big enough idea that I really had to do it. So there was the inspiration, the
Hmm.
commitment, the willingness, and I always, because I coach authors now in writing their books, and I tell people it doesn't have to be easy. It doesn't. I don't mean it doesn't have to be hard, but what I mean is, for many of us, it's not easy. And so that stops people. They think, oh, I shouldn't do it, or they just don't do it because it's hard, because it is hard. It's not, you have to say no to other things in your life. There's just simply not the time. The time will just not miraculously present itself to you and say, here's 3 months where you have nothing else to do. Now go write your book. So we have to fit it into full lives, busy lives, and then deal with all the doubts and fears. And I had just tons and tons of doubts and fears about my writing ability, about my topic, about whether or not I could really do it, whether or not anybody would really read it, whether or not, what it would be like to receive my first negative review, and all of that. It's kind of part and parcel. But one of my clients yesterday posted a picture of her on Facebook looking at her book in a bookstore, brick and mortar bookstore, at the Tattered Cover in Denver, and
Is
there's
that
just something like seeing
Cohen?
that. What's that?
Is that Amy
Amy,
Cohen?
yeah, Amy Cohen. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm excited for her. So,
I
yeah, how
know.
was that experience for her?
Well, I didn't get to talk to her. I just saw it on Facebook like everybody else. But I mean, she was pretty determined. When I started working with her, she was a very determined writer. Some people you can kind of tell right away whether they're gonna do it or not. And she was definitely someone who I had confidence she was going to do it. And then getting it published, I had the opportunity to publish her as well. So that was, a whole other adventure, not without its twists and turns. I mean, there's just always twists and turns. It's such an emotional adventure. A lot of people liken it to going through having a baby, and kind of it is your baby out in the world, and you go through all the pains and the mood swings and the ups and downs and the hormonal shifts. At least the women do. I don't know. I work mostly with women in writing their books.
Awesome. Yeah, it's so good to hear that you're coaching other writers. I am just surrounded by lately up and coming aspiring authors. So I hope to send some women your way because it sounds like you're just so inspiring and you're a great guide and mentor for those women. So thank you for being there. And I would love to find out it sounds like in your writing process and getting to the point where you were able to publish your book and make it happen for yourself, it sounds like you really had to be authentic to who you are and what you want. I heard you say, saying no to certain things, following through, doing what you say you're going to do. And although that doesn't sound very sexy, and it doesn't sound like, again, like it's easy, but what is the role in you being honest and authentic with yourself and with others through the process of you creating and living out your purpose?
Well, I think if you're not being authentic with yourself and others while you're living your purpose, you're not living your purpose. I mean, it's just, they're not, they just, plain and simple. I don't know if there's a lot more to say about that. I mean, part of living our purpose is living authentically with ourselves and with others. And so, and whatever our purpose, however it manifests, however it shows up, however we language it, authenticity has got to be a key factor in it, because otherwise it's some BS thing that we're pretending. So.
That's so true. And if you think about it, if we're not living with authenticity and we're living, with that BS, it's like nothing really goes anywhere anyway. It's not effective. We don't get results with that.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about living in authenticity and living your purpose, what you discovered in your journey and what I've discovered in my journey as well, is all of the things within you that come up that you do have to face. Again, the things that are hard, the dark parts of ourselves, overcoming our fears and doubts and really getting out of our comfort zone. It's just, we're not necessarily designed, our entire life to show up like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, for you, what really, really helped you in going on in that path of authenticity and doing what you were born to do on this earth? What are all of the things that really helped you in that process? Because it's not easy.
So I think I'm trying to really take it apart a little bit. I think that it is a matter of continuing to check in with if we're being that way, and being really grounded. And I'm not saying I'm grounded all the time, because I'm not. I have to work hard to be in the moment and not be worrying and all of that. But to kind of to keep to really keep checking in with if we are authentically in line with what we're doing. Because otherwise then it just starts to become empty, and then that's where it starts to become, we're just doing. In my book I write about not waiting in life, but I'm not implying that we should just be doers. It's not about that at all. It's not about just being in action without consciousness, without thinking, without connection, all of that. So I think really true self-awareness is the number one thing. I mean, I think really whatever practices we have for self-awareness, and really, looking at, my husband's about to walk in the door. I don't know if he got my message to be quiet. We'll see. There he is. He's got my message to be quiet. Hi, honey. So, I think that just that, I don't even remember what I was just saying, but checking in with ourselves and having a practice. It has to be, for the amount of creativity that we want to access, and whether it's writing books or doing whatever and living our purpose, if we're just strung out and human doers and going from one thing to the next and overstimulated by all that's out there, it's not going to have a depth that our people are looking for. We can do it, but it's just going to be more noise that's out there in the world that people really don't need to or want to hear. I think we're doing a disservice to ourselves and to others to not slow ourselves down. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like what you're saying is that to live out your purpose, you have to access those higher levels of energy, that creative energy, that energy that's beyond us. And if we are doing things that drain our energy, or operating from a place that doesn't feed us and nourish us, nourish our energy, that we will become drained very easily, because there is a lot to do. It is hard work. But yeah, that's what I'm hearing, is just maybe doing anything required to keep grounded in that space of being in the higher energy.
Yeah, and I think just knowing what, just coming back to what it is, kind of having our own, what are we about? Who are we and what are we about? And coming back to that and checking in. I mean, that's what happens when you're writing a book. You start to write and then start to lose. And this happened a lot in my first book, less in my second book, but kind of this whole like, wait a minute, what am I writing about? What is my stand? Where do I come from? Where am I coming from? What do I believe in? You really have to have a place to stand, even though that can be a shifting place, as we evolve and grow and change. You have to find some kind of solid ground, because otherwise it's just like all over the place. So I think that's in the way in life too, is just having some place where we can, this is what I believe, this is what I practice, this is my philosophy.
Yeah, getting back to your core and getting really grounded in that. Reminding yourself why you're doing all this anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
And
that.
it doesn't mean you have to always know, and I'm not implying that either. That every single moment you need to be crystal clear on what you're
Mhm.
doing and who you are. You can be in the mess of it, but as long as you can come back to that, just kind of it's the well that you revisit, then you're going to be okay. If you keep kind of, some people kind of jump all over the place, but if you can just kind of, I mean, I started to see just themes. I mean, clearly I write about why we wait in life, but it's not about why we're not in action in life. It's about why we don't let ourselves be human, really. Why we don't let ourselves, um, well, just be human, and why we keep expecting ourselves to be perfect, and why those are the questions I'm really asking. Not why are you. I mean, in there's the question of why do you keep putting off your dream that you say you want to live. There is that question too, but it's not just, you have to go deeper than that.
Oh, so good. Yeah, you're touching on so many wonderful things, and your book really, really speaks to so many people, because we all have those questions in our head, like why am I waiting? Why am I here, first of all? But I just heard this quote that says, it feels good to be lost in the right direction. And it sounds
Oh,
like that kind of captures what you're talking about, is at
I like
least
that
know
quote.
what direction you're headed, you know,
Yeah.
find out why you're on this planet and start taking action towards that. Not thinking that you have to do it overnight, recognizing that it's a process and a
Yeah.
journey. And yeah, you really, really capture that in the book. So thank you for that, because it definitely makes me feel uh, a lot more comfortable with just accepting that I'm human, and that it's not going to happen overnight, and it does get messy, but it's so beautiful
Hmm.
to know that I'm on the right path. And I think everyone needs to be reminded of that, for sure. What would you say is the role of connection with other people on your journey? Knowing that it probably takes a village to publish a book, and to be on your journey in life. How have your relationships with other people, especially as you're really working on showing up authentically and with all of you, wholeheartedly, how has the people in your life really influenced you and helped you along?
Hugely. Yeah, I couldn't have done, I'm not an island unto myself at all. I couldn't have done anything without the community around me. I mean, my husband, my supportive, I'm looking at him right now, I can see him in his office. Um, very supportive husband who is a big believer in me and and just when I say I'm going to write a book, when I first said it, he just got behind it. There was a support there right away. It wasn't any kind of like, well, how are you going to do that? Nothing like that. A lot of supportive friends, and that's why I said earlier that I told people that I was doing that. I just really just kept saying to people I'm writing a book, and I have a huge community of supportive people, and outside of the book world and in the book world, and kind of having people I can talk to who know about the book world, and then people who just love me and can hear me. So yeah, I mean, I don't think we can really do much in this world without a community. So if you don't have one, if you're listening and don't have one, go get one, and start small if you have to.
Yeah. And what was your level of vulnerability that you had to allow yourself to be in to maybe reach out a little bit more or to the right people? Like, reaching out to Jack Canfield, that's a big deal. So how does vulnerability play into you empowering yourself to connect with other people that helped you?
I think you have to be willing to embarrass yourself and ask people for things, and have them say no, and you know that kind of thing. You really have to be willing. I mean, in my immediate circles, it wasn't so much like that. But when you put yourself out to someone who's in a different ecology, like a Jack Canfield, then I mean, I asked him to be part of the book, and he said yes. And another time, I was at a speaking engagement where he was, and he was preparing to get up on stage, and it's hard to get to him. There are always lines of people, and so I thought, oh, I'll go up on stage because I'm bold, and I'll go up on stage while it's just him and this guy and the MC, and they're preparing, and and that's my moment, and I'll go be bold and go up there. Well, I did, and as I'm walking up to them, they kind of turn and look at me, and I could see it in their face, like it was just not the right moment. I mean, he was preparing for his talk, and I totally get it. And I just was, oh God, I felt my feet, continuing to walk forward, but really wanting to just turn and run, but I had to just at least follow through, and oh, it just was awful. I felt so humiliated, and then I sat there through his talk, just honestly, I couldn't hear a word he was saying because I just felt like, God, you're just such a loser. Why did you do that? It's such a
Oh my
mistake.
God.
And I actually waited in line afterwards to go up to him and apologize. And he was really sweet. He's like, don't worry about it, but it was still, we can be bold, but also be respectful is the key. It was more about me being bold in that moment than me really considering the whole perspective of what he was dealing with. And so I think we have to, but you're not going to ever know too. Like some things are clear, like let's just follow common courtesy, and then sometimes we'll make blunders like that, and then clean it up. But if we're not willing to be uncomfortable at all, then you're not going to get very far.
Yeah. In your purpose or in connecting with others, like it seems like that one of the keys to life is to just get uncomfortable. And if you don't choose to get uncomfortable, then life will get uncomfortable with you. And one way or the other, it's like, how do we want to respond to those times to really help us grow? And to that, Kristen, I'd love for you to share one last message for us. Especially maybe a message from your newest book. What are you waiting for? Because in Real Life Book Club, we really hit home the concept of inspired action. There's a lot of things in life that inspire us, but why not take action with that? So, there's so many small actions that we can take to get out of our comfort zone and to live our purpose. So what would you say is a message that you really want to hit home for us today?
Well, yeah, the book is all about inspired action. I have my copy too. My publisher just put out a gift edition. This is actually a hard copy, which is so exciting. So here it is right at the top, and I love this. It says, "Make the most of your gloriously messy existence." That's what my publisher just put on the top. I don't think yours says that.
No, it's stop waiting, start living.
Yeah. So I mean,
I like the word
I think the two of them really sums it up, because it's really grounded in what we're talking about. Having done the work to kind of figure things out, but also not have to figure it out 100%. Like you don't have to. If you try to wait until you figure things out 100%, you'll never take the action. So this is the stop waiting, start living, but also being willing to be in the mess. And you and I talked about that earlier, of just take messy action sometimes, and And what I say in my first book, I said, what did I say? I was just take simple actions. Take one simple action, and that's we oftentimes think it has to be some big, huge, gigantic leap, but it's really when you look back, everything we've done takes just it's baby steps. And someday maybe all you feel like doing is a little tiny, tiny step, but at least you can look back and say, okay, did that one step today, and then maybe the next day it'll be something really big and bold, and jumping into the next realm, and then maybe the next day it'll be another little tiny baby step, and it's all really okay.
Love it. Well, thank you for giving us permission, and thank you for being an amazing role model, a huge inspiration, and a light in this world. We need more Kristens in this world, and I'm really excited to connect you with everyone who is here listening and watching this video. So, Kristen, how can people get a hold of you? And I will be sure to post this underneath the video as well and all over social media so that everyone knows how to reach Kristen. But what would you like to share with us today?
You can definitely go through my website, KristenMoeller.com, KristenMoeller. It's on there somewhere, .com. Or my Facebook fan page. Yeah, there it is. My Facebook fan page. So it's if you go to my personal page, I'm trying to get off of that and just onto my fan page. So find me on my fan page, and then I think it's just Kristen Moeller. I think it's just Kristen Moeller again, too. So find me there.
Yeah, and you coach aspiring authors. Is it during any phase of the author and the writing? Like, what aspects of coaching do you really specialize in?
Well, what aspects? Right now, what I've been doing is I actually work with women leaders who are at the top of their game and publishing their books about legacy. So I am actually just working with select women who are writing that level of books. I do offer to publish people who are writing other types of books, so I do offer publishing consults, but my coaching programs and services are for those women who are really, they're kind of ready to write those books that are lasting messages that make a difference.
Well, I sure hope to be one of your clients one day then, hopefully sooner than later.
Sounds good.
Yeah, awesome, Kristen. And we always end our Real Life Book Club meetings with gratitude. So what are you thankful for today?
I'm thankful for, gosh, I mean, so much. Honestly, I'm living in a new little town called Salida, Colorado, and I'm grateful to get to live in a little town of about 6,000 people in the mountains, in just a small town where I can walk out my front door and walk to downtown and grab a cup of coffee. That's what I'm grateful for today.
Love it. And that we get to be on Google Hangouts in the comfort of your own home.
That's
and
right.
still get your message out there online.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm so thankful for you. I'm so thankful for your book, and I'm definitely going to check out your other book as well. Thank you for coming into my life. I resonate with you. I'm so excited to know you, and thank you for spending time with me today. This is Real Life Connection with Kristen Moeller, and I look forward to seeing you with another light that I will be interviewing in the future. Definitely reach out to Kristen anytime and follow her on Facebook. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.